Kurinji Senior Secondary School, CBSE, Namakkal.
Successful result producing school in state every year.
Administered by the Board of Directors with over 35 years of experience in the teaching field.
Special attention on art, craft, music, dance, silambam, yoga, skating and karate.
Focus on Hindi Sabha and Spell Bee Olympiad exams.
Smart class for effective and innovative learning and well-furnished library.
Solitary importance on sports and games in state and national level.
WhatsApp facilities to know activities of students and school inside the campus.
NEET, JEE, IIT coaching experts from Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh along with our effective teachers.
Admission registration for classes LKG to +2.
Kurinji Educational Institution, Kavetipatti, Namakkal. Admission in progress. CBSE, KG to 12, contact 9025895176. Metric 6 to 12, contact 9344567484. For online admission, log on to www.kurinjischoolnkl.in.
Same continuation to the last class, right? In this class we will discuss about parallel axis theorem, right? So in our previous class we discussed perpendicular axis theorem, and along with the discussion of perpendicular axis theorem we discussed one example problem also. Okay, right? So in this class our concentration is towards parallel axis theorem, right? After completion of parallel axis theorem, in this class we will discuss about some of the example problems. After that we will discuss kinematics of rotational motion. Thereafter we will discuss some other example problems. Okay, right? First concentrate on discussion about parallel axis theorem. Parallel axis theorem. Okay, right? See here, this theorem is applicable to a body of any shape. This theorem is applicable to a body of any shape. That is the important point we have to keep in mind. And this theorem allows us to find the moment of inertia of a body about any axis given the moment of inertia of the body about a parallel axis through the center of mass of the body, right? Okay, so here 2 points I told you. One is the validity of theorem regarding the shape of a body. So that is, the theorem is applicable to a body of any shape. And the next point is, this theorem helps us to find the moment of inertia of a body about any axis given the moment of inertia of a body about a parallel axis through the center of mass of the body. Okay, right? Next, we shall only state this theorem and not give its proof here, right? So we are going to discuss about the statement only, and then we can apply this to a few simple situations which will enough to convince us about the usefulness of the theorem, right? So that we will discuss here itself. You can see this picture, right? See here. So this is the one of the axis and this is another axis. Here, these two are the parallel axis, and one is z axis, another one is z dash axis. It is x axis, it is y axis. This is the axis which is passing through the center of mass, and the distance between these two is a, and mass of the body is capital M. Okay, right? Now I am going to explain you the statement of parallel axis theorem. You please be concentrate. And before going to give the statement, before going to explain the statement, I told you only two important points. One is, this theorem is applicable to a body of any shape, and another important point is, this theorem helps us to find the moment of inertia of a body about any axis given the moment of inertia of the body about a parallel axis through the center of mass of the body, Okay, right? Now see here, see the statement of parallel axis theorem. The moment of inertia of a body about any axis, the moment of inertia of a body about any axis is equal to the sum of moment of inertia of a body is equal to the sum of moment of inertia of a body about a parallel axis passing through its center of mass and the product of its mass and the square of the distance between the two parallel axes. I will repeat once again. So, this is the mathematical form of parallel axis theorem, and this is what written form of parallel axis theorem statement. Both are same. I will explain you this mathematical equation. First, you try to understand the information. The moment of inertia of your body about any axis, see for example this we have taken. The moment of inertia of your body about any axis is equal to the sum of moment of inertia of body about a parallel axis passing through its center of mass, that is what Iz, and the product of its mass, that is capital M, and the square of the distance between them, that is what A square, between the two parallel axes. Okay, that is what the statement, and here you can write it as Iz dash is equal to Iz dash. So, moment of inertia of this body about an axis z dash is equal to the sum of moment of inertia of the same body about a parallel axis which is passing through the center of mass plus product of mass of the body and square of the distance between the two parallel axes. Okay, right. And you already understood, I already explained you, z and z dash are two parallel axes separated by a distance a. The z axis passes through the center of mass O of the rigid body. Z axis passes through the center of mass O of the body, and according to the theorem of parallel axis, okay, Iz dash is equal to Iz plus Ma square, right? Here Iz and Iz dash. Iz is the moment of inertia of the body about z axis which is passing through the center of mass, and Iz dash is the moment of inertia of the same body about an axis, right? About the axis which is passing, see, which is passing through some other point of the same body. Okay, M is the mass of the body and A is the perpendicular distance between the two parallel axes. Okay, right. This is all about statement and mathematical form of parallel axis theorem. This theorem is applicable to a body of any shape, and this theorem helps us to find the moment of inertia of a body about any axis. If you know the moment of inertia of a body about an axis passing through the center of mass and parallel to the axis about which we have to calculate the moment of inertia and mass of the body, then distance between the two parallel axes. Distance between the two parallel axes. Okay, right. Now we are going to discuss one example problem based on this parallel axis theorem. Okay, see here. What is the moment of inertia of a rod of mass capital M, length small l, about an axis perpendicular to it through one end? Through one end. Here is no picture, ma. You try to understand, because a rod, iron rod means we can imagine. Here the mass of the rod is capital M and length is small l. Okay, and he is asking what is the moment of inertia of rod of mass capital M, length l, about an axis perpendicular to it through one end, right? For example, if it is the rod, ma, so this is what he is saying, right? You can take this one also, no problem, right? This is the rod, this is the position of the rod, and about this axis we have to calculate the moment of inertia, right? And while discussing about moment of inertia, I told you the factors which affects the moment of inertia. Among those factors, one of the factor is the position of axis of rotation, right? That's why, so what is the axis of rotation also very important while going to calculate the moment of inertia. Okay, right. See here, for the rod of mass capital M and length small l, I is equal to ml square by 12. ml square by 12. This is what, this is the moment of inertia of the same rod about an axis passing through its center of mass and perpendicular to the rod. Please try to understand here what I am saying. For the rod of mass capital M and length small l, I is equal to ml square by 12. Main here, this is the moment of inertia of the rod about an axis passing through its center of mass and perpendicular to the rod. That is what here you can say I is equal to ml square by 12, and this we already discussed in our previous classes, right? So I kept one table there, and there I told you. Okay. Next, using parallel axis theorem, I dash is equal to, I dash is the axis about which we have to calculate moment of inertia. That is the axis passing through one end of the rod and perpendicular to the rod, right? I dash is equal to I plus MA square. This is the statement from parallel axis theorem. And if L is the length of the rod, and the distance between the two parallel axes, the distance between the two parallel axes, A is equal to L by 2. A is equal to L by 2. Okay. And from our statement of parallel axis theorem, I dash is equal to I plus MA square now. So here A is equal to L by 2. So in place of A we are writing L by 2. Finally ML square by 12 plus ML square by 4. The final answer will be I dash is equal to ML square by 3. So ML square by 3 is the moment of inertia of a rod about an axis which is perpendicular to the rod and passing through one end of the rod. Okay, right. Next we are going to discuss another example problem. Okay, right. See this. What is the moment of inertia of a ring about a tangent to the circle of the ring? You just imagine a ring in circular form. He is asking to find out what is the moment of inertia of a ring about a tangent to the circle of the ring, right? And this is the this is the axis which is passing through the center of mass of the ring, and also like a diameter. Okay, but it is a tangent. But these two are parallel axes. Okay, so here also we are using parallel axis theorem to complete this problem. That is what to calculate moment of inertia of the ring, moment of inertia of the circular ring about a tangent. Okay, right. See here, the tangent to the ring in the plane of the ring is parallel to one of the diameters of the ring. And I think what is diameter, what is radius, okay, in our geometrical mathematics, right? I hope you had a clarity. So I already told you, it is what a circular shaped ring, right? So you just imagine within the limit of circle shape. Okay, right. And what he is saying is, see here, the tangent to the ring in the plane of the ring is parallel to one of the diameters of the ring. The distance between two parallel axes is R, that is what radius of the ring. Using the parallel axis theorem, this is what you can write like this. Okay, I tangent is equal to I about diameter plus m r square. Okay, right. So what about this? It is like already we know known value. So in the table I told you, I think in the last class only we discussed. Okay, right. So there itself, it is what mr square by 2 plus this is already mr square, right? So mr square by 2 plus mr square is equal to 3 by 2 mr square, right? So 3 by 2 mr square is the moment of inertia of a ring about a tangent to the circle of the ring. That is what 3 by 2 mr square. 3 by 2 mr square. Okay, right. Now we are going to discuss, right, kinematics of rotational motion. Now we are going to discuss kinematics of rotational motion. Okay, right. So till now we discussed what is parallel axis theorem and the statement of parallel axis theorem, and two example problems based on the parallel axis theorem we discussed. So one is belongs to the rod, another one is belongs to the circular ring. Okay, next see this. Next topic, kinematics of rotational motion. Okay, right. And what is translatory motion, and what are the equations of motion, right? And what is uniform acceleration, that is what small a, and what is final velocity, what is initial velocity, right? These are all we discussed in case of translatory motion. So now if you restrict our discussion to the pure rotational motion, we will already we had some analogy between translatory motion and circular motion. That's what I already told you. That is what in case of rotational motion, that is what angular velocity omega, and in case of rotational motion, same rotational motion, the angular acceleration is alpha, and you can write omega is equal d theta by dt, and alpha is equal d omega by dt. But if these are the things, if these things if we compare to the translational motion, you know, there v is equal to ds by dt, that is what velocity is equal rate of change of displacement, and acceleration is dv by dt, rate of change of velocity, right? So these are the this is the analogy between translatory motion and rotational motion. Okay, right. So here what I am saying is, here we have already indicated the analogy between rotational motion and translational motion. Okay, see here, for example, the angular velocity omega plays the same role in rotation as the linear velocity v in translation. Okay, am I saying? You please observe carefully. For example, the angular velocity omega plays the same role in rotation as the linear velocity v in translation. Okay, and similarly, if you go for angular acceleration alpha, which is same like linear acceleration a, because here it is alpha is equal to d omega by dt, there a is equal to dv by dt, a is equal to dv by dt, and this is the discussion where the motion involves only one degree of freedom, right? That is, it needs only one independent variable to describe the motion, one independent variable to describe the motion. Okay, this in translational corresponds to linear motion, right? And here we are discussing about only kinematics, not dynamics, right? So we will discuss about dynamics in our next section or in our next class. Okay, so here our concentration is only about kinematics, right? So I already told you, here it is what theta in rotational motion, in translational motion it is s. In case of rotational motion, it is what v is omega is equal to d theta by theta. In case of translational motion, it is v is equal to ds by dt. In case of rotational motion, it is alpha is equal to d omega by dt, and in case of translatory motion, a is equal to dv by dt, right? So like that we can compare, right? And at the same time, if you observe carefully, right, its angular displacement theta in a plane, it moves is the same angular displacement of the whole body, right? This is what in case of rotational motion our discussion is, right? Our discussion is, it is just about angular displacement, okay, that is theta in case of rotational motion. In case of linear, in case of translational motion, it is what linear displacement, that is what s. I already told you. Okay, now you just see this picture. Here we have, that is what x axis and y axis and z axis, right? Similarly here x dash axis, y dash axis and z axis. So with respect to time, the body is going to, the position of the particle is going to change in case of rotational motion. No, that he is trying to explain through this picture, and it is what theta and it is what theta naught. So it is the initial angular displacement or reference position, and this is what the final angular displacement or the angular displacement of a body in case of rotational motion after a certain period of time. So the initial position of the particle is p naught and final position of the particle is p. Okay, so like that, this is the picture which gives information about the rotational motion of one particular object at two different instants of time, okay, right? So these are the equations of motion we already come across in case of that is what kinematics chapter. So that is equations of motion. Equations of motion, and there are three equations of motion here. Observe carefully. V is equal to V naught plus AT, and V square is equal to V naught square plus 2AS. Then X is equal to X naught plus V naught into T plus of AT square. So these three are the equations of motion, right? You can also call them as kinematic equations of motion, right? In case of translatory motion. And afterwards, if you see these three equations with respect to rotational motion, there these three are the equations of motion. Then omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t. Omega square is equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha into theta minus theta naught. Theta is equal to theta naught plus omega naught into t plus of alpha t square. So these three are the equations of rotational motion. So these three are the equations of translatory motion, and these three are the equations of rotational motion. Here theta is the angular displacement, omega is the angular velocity after certain interval of time, a small t, and omega naught is the initial angular velocity, alpha is the angular acceleration. The same thing we can apply here also. Here theta naught is the initial angular displacement or reference position, and it is what final angular displacement, okay. And the same thing you can also apply here, right? This we already discussed in the chapter of motion in a straight line, right? Here we are in a discussion about equations of rotational motion. So these are the equations of rotational motion, okay. Like this we can compare the equations of motion in case of translatory motion and equations of motion in case of rotational motion. And before this I already told you what about that is what S displacement in case of translational motion, and theta in case of rotational motion, and V is equal ds by dt in case of translational motion, and omega is equal d theta by dt in case of rotational motion. Similarly, A is equal dv by dt in case of translational motion, and alpha is equal to d omega by dt in case of rotational motion, right? Okay. Now we are going to discuss, right, one example problem, that is what example 7.13. See here. Obtain omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t from first principle, right? Obtain omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t from first principle, right? Answer, see here. We know that this relation, that is what from here alpha is equal d omega by dt, we know that is equal to constant, right? So this is what here uniform acceleration, that is a very important thing. You know, in case of translatory motion also, there we discussed these are the equations of motion when a body is moving with uniform acceleration, but that is linear acceleration. In case of rotational motion we have to consider uniform angular acceleration, right? So with that we can write the statement, that is we know that d omega by dt is equal to alpha is equal to constant, where angular acceleration is uniform, right? Now we are going to integrate on both the sides. This equation we are going to integrate on both the sides, okay. That is what this one you can write like this this is d omega by dt is equal to alpha, no? So d omega is equal to alpha into dt, right? Then if we integrate on both the sides it will become like this. Omega is equal to integrate alpha into dt plus c, that is equal to alpha into t plus c. Alpha is constant, okay, right? You know, at t is equal to 0, you just substitute mathematically t is equal to 0, then what will happen? Omega is equal to omega naught, no? Omega is equal to omega naught here. So when you are taking t is equal to 0, that is what omega is equal to omega naught, then you can write like this, that is what we get at t is equal to 0, omega is equal to c is equal to omega naught, right? So when you are substituting this value in this equation, we will get it as omega, see here c is equal to omega naught, that value we have to write here. Then omega is equal to alpha t plus omega naught, that is only first equation of motion, no? Omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t as required, right? So here we proved and we derived only first equation of rotational motion, that is omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t, right? So not only first equation of motion, he can derive second equation of motion also, that is this one. And he can derive third equation of motion also, that is what theta is equal to theta naught plus omega naught into t plus of alpha t square. Okay. So generally this we are calling it as third equation of motion. This we are calling it as second equation of motion. This is what first equation of motion, right? Equation of motion means here what? When I am showing these things, these are the equations of rotational motion. When I am showing these things, these are the equations of translatory motion, right? Okay. So the number is not fixed, but generally we are calling them like this. But anyhow, these are the equations of translatory motion and these are the equations of rotational motion. Okay, right. Next example problem, example 7.14. See here, the angular speed of a motor wheel is increased from 1200 rotations per minute RPM to 3120 RPM rotations per minute in 16 seconds. In 16 seconds. Okay, right. So the first, there are two things to find. The first one is what is its angular acceleration? What is its angular acceleration? Assuming the angular acceleration to be uniform. Okay, right. Second one, how many revolutions does the engine make during this time? How many revolutions does the engine make during this time? Okay, right. See this, first one is what is its angular acceleration, right? So the formula, alpha is equal to omega minus omega naught by t. Okay, but here if you observe carefully, this is what we know, omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t. From that only we are writing this formula. Okay, right. Anyhow, first we have to know omega naught and then we have to know omega t value already given. That is what 16 seconds. Okay, right. Anyhow, the formula omega naught is equal to 2 pi n. Otherwise, 2 pi n by t. Okay, see here. This is 2 pi into here 1200 rotations per minute. Right? 1200 rotations per minute means how many rotations per second? Right? So 1200 by 60. That is what I told you just now. Omega naught is equal to 2 pi n. Otherwise 2 pi by t. So 2 pi by t we are writing means that is what n is equal to 1. N is equal to 1. N is equal to 1 means rotations per second. Rotations per second. Okay. So here 2 pi into 1200 by 60. So here these are this is the angular velocity per second. That is what radians per second. 40 pi, right? So this 0 will get cancelled. 6 1 ja, 6 20 ja. 20 into 2 40, 40 pi radians per second. It is the initial angular velocity. Initial angular velocity. Next, final angular velocity omega is equal to 2 pi into 3120 divided by 60. So 0 will get cancelled, and this is what 2 1 ja, 2 3 ja, and here you can make it to, that is what it will come finally 104 pi. 104 pi radians per second is the final angular velocity, right? Then it is angular acceleration. Angular acceleration is equal to omega minus omega naught by t, right? And that is equal to 104 minus 40, right? So 104 minus 40 means 64, no? Right, 64 pi. 64 pi divided by here 16, right? So 4 pi radians per second square. 4 pi radians per second square is the angular acceleration. Angular acceleration. Okay, right. Next, see here, second one. What is that? How many revolutions does the engine make during this time? Okay, so see here. This is the formula we have to use. That is what generally, second equation of rotational motion. So here it is theta is equal to omega naught plus of alpha t square. So omega naught already we know 40 pi into t is 16, right, plus 1 by 2 into 4 pi into 16 square, right, and do this mathematical calculation. That is here 640 pi plus here 512 pi radians, right? So totally 1152 pi radians is the angular displacement with this angular initial velocity and with this angular acceleration and in this particular instant of time, that is what 16 seconds. Okay, right. But he is asking to find how many revolutions does the engine make during this time. Okay, he is not asking the angular displacement, he is asking number of revolutions. So one revolution is equal to 2 pi radians, no? 2 pi radians or 360 degrees. But here this is what angular displacement is available in radians, no? That's why it is better to consider it is mandatory to take in radians. Okay, so number of revolutions is equal to 1152 pi by 2 pi, that is equal to 576. 576 are the number of revolutions regarding this angular displacement within this time, that is what 16 seconds. Okay, right. In this class we discussed what is the parallel axis theorem statement and what is the use of parallel axis theorem, and the parallel axis theorem is applicable to a body of any shape. And there we discussed two problems. One problem belonged to the rod, another problem belonged to the ring based on parallel axis theorem. Afterwards we came to discuss kinematics of rotational motion. There we discussed or we defined or we have written equations of rotational motion, right? It is not a new thing, already we know the equations of motion for translatory motion, right? So based on the analogy, when the motion of the body restricted to the pure rotational motion, right, then you can write the equations of rotational motion like these three equations, right? So it is first and second and third, right? Otherwise it is the first and it is the second, usually it is the third. Anyhow, these three are the equations of rotational motion. And after that we discussed two example problems. In one example problem we proved the first equation of rotational motion, that is omega is equal to omega naught plus alpha t. In the second, this is what 7.14 example, based on the given information and based on the situation, he is asking to calculate what is the angular acceleration in one case, that's we did, which is 4 pi radians per second square regarding the given information. And in the second one he is asking to calculate number of revolutions, right? So first we found angular displacement based on this equation of rotational motion, that is theta is equal to omega naught t plus half alpha t square. Thereafter we found or we determined number of revolutions, right? That is what 1152 pi by 2 pi is equal to 576 revolutions. Okay, right. In our next class we will continue with the next continuation topic. Thank you.